Welcome everybody to Trenton 365. I'm your host, Jacque Howard. Big shout out to WIMG 1300 and WPHY for having the program and distributing it. You can also find us through the social media platforms of Trenton 365 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. As many of you know, I am super stoked about the whole fashion and art scene that's happening, not only in this region here, but in general. I believe that this is an opportunity for a lot of our talented human beings who have an artistic appeal to do some different things. And one of those folks I'm bringing to you now is FlyKickz. And many of you may recognize Des from being on a show many years ago, but she's been doing some amazing things, constantly showcasing her talent and her art and her creativity with a focus on the idea of sneakers or kicks for those of you who are interested in a little bit updated on what's happening. So when we bring Des on, I want you to make sure that you grab a writing utensil and take down some notes, but most importantly that you follow up with Des later and buy some of her art. Commission her to buy some art and have her come speak to some students or small group teenagers or youth in your program, because not only is she's a dynamic artist, but she's a business person. She's an entrepreneur. She's got great familial support, and she's right here in New Jersey and New York. So there's no reason for us not to reach out to the amazing, the talented, and the awesome FlyKickz. What's up, lady? How are you?
Hello, I am well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good also. It's a little tough, with the whole COVID thing, not being able to be around a lot of folks. I think back to the first time I met you, it was over at the Jersey Fresh Jam. Shout out to Leon Rainbow and his crew. You had this booth set up and you were painting and you had your shoes, you had your well-known and documented black head to toe on. So it was it was like, yo, who is this woman? And then, we started rapping, and then you were like talking to me about your thing, that you love yourself some Nikes, you love Air Jordans,
yes.
And how you deconstruct and reconstruct. And it was just like, wow, I got to get to know this artist. And over the years, we've been able to grow, and I've been able to watch and see all this awesome stuff that you're doing, not only with your personal branding and imagery, but also with the art that you're creating as well. I'd like for us to rehash and kind of go back to like some of the earlier days. Like, I know your parents are always supportive of what you do.
Yes.
And what you did. I'd like for you to just to start there and lead into when you knew, like, man, I really like making stuff and creating stuff, and I'm an artist. When did you first realize that?
Man, I mean, art was always my greatest escape. Like even as a kid, that's why I don't almost never get bored. I'm so comfortable being by myself because that's what I did as a child, and my parents just was allowed me to just kind of figure out who I wanted to be, create who I wanted to be. And it just was just an amazing feeling. Like you mentioned, like they've been so supportive. Like I am extremely grateful to have my parents. I mean, the reason why I actually even call myself FlyKickz is because of my parents. Like, my father, when I was younger, I told myself it had to be the kicks. He had the flyest kicks, and I could never quite get get the type of collection that he had. So I was like, I'm going to exude that energy in what I do as an artist. I'm going to become FlyKickz. Hence the name. And then my mom would always say, even as a kid, I kept you in a pair of FlyKickz. And I was like, is the universe speaking to me? I'm going to just run with this. So, I mean, they love it.
When you talk about the universe and like paying attention to those signs, like you said, start when you were a kid. Your dad had FlyKickz. Your mom was talking about FlyKickz. And it was like, wait a minute, there's a connection here. And I think a lot of artists don't really make that connection. Can you talk about how your particular art is it's very intuitive, the art that you create?
I've always wanted to create something that many haven't seen before. Initially when I first started off, I was customizing sneakers. So I was just kind of like painting sneakers, and everyone considered it like walking advertisement. And that was cool, but I wanted something that's more of a standstill. I wanted something that you put on a wall and it's like, wait a minute, you're trying to figure out what's going on in this canvas. And when you get closer, you realize that it's sneakers. As my style has evolved, what's been great is now people see it as just art and not as sneaker art. So the evolution of that, where people realizing, like, sneakers are just my muse. I'm no different from any other artist that uses, some use metal, some are visual artists, some watercolors. we are one and the same, but we just choose to express ourselves a little differently. And I paid attention to how I aspired to evolve. And I remember getting the idea to cut up sneakers. I was watching Edward Scissorhands one day, and I'm like, he has the ability to take mayhem and make something beautiful. And, and while people will see sneakers that are like, they want to throw it in the trash, I'm like, no, I'm going to take this to a whole new level. If Edward could do it, I can do it with sneakers, So I just started cutting those sneakers until there's been this like thing where it's kind of like, everyone is like, wow, I can't believe you did that with a pair of sneakers. Like, I see it differently. When I see sneakers, I see it broken apart in my mind in parts. So I guess it's become kind of like my thing over the years.
When I started paying attention to your artwork and the deconstruction of it, immediately it made me think back to my fashion days in pattern making. And everything is just a pattern, and it's how it's put together. And your aesthetic is awesome with how you can break that sneaker apart. From a distance, people can see, oh, that's a pair of Air Jordans or that's a pair of Nikes. But then when they get up on top of it, they see the multimedia, like how you've elaborated and worked those other things there. And I think that gives folks a total different impression of what the sneaker art is, and that there's someone who has designed this and chose these colors to make it work together. You've also been very outspoken about your appreciation for a particular brand of sneakers. Can you go into where that came from and why you like working with that particular brand so much?
Yeah, like, so there have been times where people come to me and they're like, so I noticed you only use this brand. I'm like, listen, if it's not a Nike or Jordan, I don't particularly use it. You never seen me use any other sneakers in my art. And again, it stems from when my dad took me sneaker shopping as a kid. We shopped for Converse, Nikes, Jordans, and using that brand is nostalgia for me. It reminds me of the moments where I was a kid. That's why I feel like I am forever young using these sneakers in my art. So it's something that I'm very passionate about. Like, it's something that ignites me when I'm creating. Now, that's not to say that if someone commissioned me to do a piece for them and they had a favorite particular sneaker, if I like the silhouette of the sneaker and there's something about it that speaks to me, I'll use it. But I am not hard up on just creating art for the hell of it. Like, it has to be something new.
This is almost reminiscent to what you had said before. Like you were using these terms like the silhouette is so important to me, which is why you like this particular sneaker. And I think that I threw a name out, and your face expression changed, and the silhouette wasn't the same. Like, there are lots of basketball sneakers, but not all of them have the same flow. So when you said that, it clicked on in my mind that I understand, like, your aesthetic, the way you move, this particular shoe brand, it flows nicely. Looking over your shoulder, you got that dope Wu-Tang piece on the wall, and I know.
Yeah.
I want you to talk about some of the collaborations. When I say collaborations, I don't want people to think that, you got commissioned by Wu to do those things. But when I'm talking about collaborations, I mean just with other artists. The fact that you take a sneaker that is another product and make it into something else is a collaborations of sorts. So can you talk about your collaborative process? Like what makes something stick out to you that says, yes, I want to work with that in my work?
I think about it, I look to those closest to me. So for instance, with the Wu logo, actually funny, my mother inspired me to create that. My mother has been a big Wu fan, in her day. I mean, she's calmed down, now, but I remember just sitting in the backyard with her one day, and some Wu music cream came on, and my mother was like bobbing her head, and she was really into it. And I was so stuck on what piece I was going to create for Art All Night at the time, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, how am I going to impress this lady? Like, how am I going to impress this woman when she sees it? And I was like, I know what I'm going to do. I want to do the Wu logo. The Wu logo is so iconic. It's like the bat signal. Like, if you see the bat signal, you know what it is. Yeah. So I was like, it doesn't matter what background anybody comes from. When they see this, they're going to gravitate towards it because there's like a common, there's like a bridge for all of us. So I kind of, when I think of ideas, I think of, you know, how it makes me feel and how people are going to kind of respond to it as well. You know, so yeah, that's kind of like my thought process. And even when I'm choosing the sneakers, like it has to be the right sneaker for it, you know? So I put some thought into that as well. What I try to do with my style is I want to keep the sneaker as whole as possible. So I don't chop and screw sneakers up where you can't tell what sneaker it is. Okay. So, and I do that for the people who consider themselves they love sneakers or who like to label themselves sneakerheads. When they walk up to my canvas, they can go, that's an Air Force One, that's an Air Max 90, that's a Jordan 1. They know it. And while I choose these sneakers too, I educate myself on them because I don't know everything about sneakers. I just know how they make me feel. So just kind of choosing these sneakers allows me the opportunity to learn the history of them, figure out, you know, who made them big, where they were worn. Like, yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of, I guess, the collaboration that kind of goes into it. It becomes like a learning, like I'm getting schooled in a way. So,
damn, that's pretty deep. I'm gonna have to revisit that because that takes my thought process in a different space. I'm gonna have to revisit that, but I do want to talk about the way it makes you feel, because I think that anyone who spent some time around you, and I haven't spent a lot of time around you, but you are very much like the energy is there. Like it's very clear what your intent is. Like I'm trying to think of the an example, but it's almost like you know, you hear people talk about an aura or a presence that people have. You have that, and I think that it's a combination of your mindset prior coming into this, how you were reared and raised, but also how you've created this brand. And like I mentioned, you're always in black. You're always in black. Everyone knows you're always in black. To be able to establish that as your brand, that means, like, you know, you've put some time and thought into this and you've been consistent with it. And I know I'm a bit all over the place, but I want you to touch on, you know, the aesthetic of Des FlyKickz. You know, well done. You know, when you come in, you know, all black, cat suit, hair's on point, makeup's there, but the focus is on the work.
You know, I can remember going through some moments of my life, some ups and some downs. And a lot of times I would look down at my feet and I'd be wearing Nikes or Jordans. And it's like, as crazy as it may sound, like, you know, I started thinking about it like, wow, you know, I can remember, you know, starting school, my first year, 6th grade, you know, and I always had, you know, I had a pair of classics at the time, or the first time I saved up my own money in high school, I made sure I got honor roll every semester because they were giving at least $35 vouchers at Trenton High. And I remember going downtown to buy my own pair of first Jordan Blues, True Blue 3s. And I convinced the guy to let me use all 3. And he was like, no, we can't do that. I was like, you don't understand. Like, I got honor roll every semester for this, you know, and just like those moments, I just cut up those sneakers a few years ago and I incorporated it. So those sneakers I brought in 2003 for myself. And I still have them now. I cut them up and I put them on a little stash thing that I call a stash box. And I just remember that moment of how excited I was to walk out of that store. My mother was waiting in her own little geo tracker out there, and I was just swinging the bag like, I brought this for myself. Y'all didn't get this for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just made me feel so accomplished. Like, you know, I think that I have a sense of, I know who I am. Like, I'm not trying to find myself. I'm just creating myself at this point. And I get the opportunity to do it in some of the sneakers that I love. And it just makes me feel like no matter where I go, I take a piece of home with me in a way. So I never really feel out of place. Yeah.
That's warm and fuzzy, man. I like that. I like that. That's great. You know, being a woman of color, a strong woman of color, I know that society is beating down people of color, in particular, you know, Black women and women of color. How do you sustain yourself? I know you've got a great support system and everything around you, your family and so forth, but how do you sustain yourself, you know, as an independent entrepreneur, woman of color?
You know, I am very aware of the company that I keep. So surrounding myself with like-minded individuals, or the individuals that are going to elevate and inspire me and take me to a whole nother level, is very important to me. So I'm very quick to remove myself when a situation when it doesn't fit me. You know, I understand that a lot of people are just really conflicted within themselves, and I try not to let that rub off on me. You know, so I gracefully bow out, like, listen, you got that, and just remove myself because I have too much to lose. You see what I'm saying? Like I'm going. God has bigger plans for me, and I can't get into these little, spats that people try to have, and because they're, like I said, displeased with themselves. So I remember who I am and where I came from, and sometimes you have to remind yourself that you're cut from a different cloth. And being strong and independent does it. It comes. What comes with the territory sometimes is not everyone is going to understand you, but you have to be okay with that. And I remind myself, what other people think about me is none of my business. Like everyone is entitled to their own opinion. I love the color of my skin. I love where I come from. I love me even more because I love my parents and the cloth that they were cut from. You see what I'm saying? So I can't, sometimes I can't relate to everyone because everyone has different backgrounds, but I say, listen, I love who I am, because when I look over my shoulders, or when I look beside me, I should say, I have a great support system. It makes me it makes me proud of my melanin, like.
That's great, man. Oh shoot, I may have to pull that out, that segment, and then do a little sound bar or something like that later. But no, that's sweet. I'm glad you said it. I'm glad you worded it like that. That was perfect. All right. So you are someone who has created an amazing, consistent message across all of your media access. Literally, if you do a search for you, you go to an Instagram page, you go to a social media site, with you, it's very consistent. I know that how you promote yourself is very important to you. Can you talk to the audience about branding and how it has worked for you?
When I first stepped on the scene and I introduced myself as FlyKickz to people, I wanted to do so in a very strong way. And that came with knowing that I was comfortable in my own skin. I knew what people were kind of accustomed to seeing from women that happened to be into sneakers, and I wanted to be myself. Like, yes, it has that tomboy feel, but when you see me, I might have on a cutoff shirt. Do not be surprised. That's just something that I've been doing, and I figure out how to dress it up and how to dress it down. It just depends on my environment. But I knew that I wanted to be art imitating art. So you might be a little confused when you saw me initially, like, oh, is this model that's standing by the sneakers? But that's also worked to my advantage, where I can allow people to comfortably look at my work, and then I can introduce myself as FlyKickz, and they can be like, oh, wait a minute, but you're a woman that likes sneakers, and what's going on here? So it kind of was like an icebreaker in a way. And I knew that it's okay. It's okay that when people look at my pictures, it's like, all right, she's an artist, but it doesn't take away from the fact that even if I'm attractive, it doesn't take away from my consistency and the work that I put out. If I was a mediocre artist, I would get it. When people look at my picture, it's like, okay, well, what's going on here? I'm a grown woman. And anything that I put out, I know that I do in a respectable manner. I move with intent. I know it's not something that my parents would be upset about if they saw, but at the end of the day, it's my life, and how I choose to portray myself is really what matters. And I think that I do it in a tasteful way, where if I look at pictures, I want to inspire me. I want to motivate me. I don't compare myself to the next woman. When I get up in the morning, I want to be like, all right, Des, you was looking good yesterday. Today's going to be an all right day. Let's go out there and let's get to it,
And and Des, I think that it's super important for us to make sure that we talk about and I don't want to use the word sexuality, because I kind of don't think that's the right word. I want to say the beauty industry side of it, because you are someone who portrays yourself in a particular way. I know that people find your appearance very attractive, and having that dynamic of being a woman, being a business person, and then being in a scene like sneakers that's not really a lot of women involved in it. I'm sure you get a lot of folks who are asking questions and so forth. I have been witness to the strength and the power of how you handle people, who have questions or, look at you side eye or whatever. I've seen that, and how you handle that. I want you to share some of the maybe words to other women, in particular, younger girls, who are coming up, who may feel inspired by you, about some of the things that they can expect and how they can, be as strong as you are.
Not everybody is going to understand you and what you're set out to do. That they don't see the vision. When I first started out, like, a lot of people was like, "Are you sure you want to use sneakers? Like, can't you do something else? Like, you know what I mean? You're so beautiful, you're so talented. You should do a different type of art. Like, that's just sneakers." So one was really kind of taking it seriously, but I was going to keep on putting it out there because I knew who my target market was, and it obviously isn't you, because that person, because you don't like what I'm doing. So I'm going to speak to the people who can relate. I'm going to tap into them, and then that one turns into 10, that 10 turns into 100, because I know who I'm marketing my work for. And sometimes when people see your consistency, they come around like, "Oh, wait a minute. All right, it's been a few years and this girl has not let up. Like, what is it all about?" And I think that through your consistency, being organized is taking me to a whole nother level. And realizing the importance of how you make people feel is a lot, because they say people won't remember what you said. They may not remember what you did, but people always remember how you made them feel. And I want, when people get around me, I want to not only offer them an experience through my art, but I want them to remember what it felt like to be in my presence, because they may not be able to purchase work now, but when that time comes, they go, "You remember that young lady that I met a few years ago? I wonder if she's still at it. Let me check out what she has going on." And that can really take you a long way. There's no need to be disrespectful and rude to people, even when you have an incredible talent that's beyond this world. There may come a time where you're down and out, and you're going to need to turn to those people who really do appreciate your work. So, I just say, not only perfect your craft, but just already there, learn, be more in tune to how you project yourself to others.
Cool. I think that's a great way to put it. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the young people, I just envision a lot of young people, in particular, young girls of color, being blown away by you and what you're doing and your art, but also your business and how you're handling your business. So kudos to you for that, man. I'm a fan. So I want to talk, like, a bit on the business side in the next couple of minutes, right? So you're making a lot of work. You're constantly busy. You're a working artist. How has the COVID year been, 2020, been for you and your art, and how have you used this time to, whatever it is, refresh yourself, put out new work, find inspiration, etc.?
Well, initially, when everything came to a standstill where you couldn't do anything, I'd actually say to my parents that I've been practicing for quarantine all my life. Like, I do this at a professional level. I spend so much time alone where it was like, "Oh, I can't do that." Makes me know, never mind. Like, I can figure out how to pour my energy into something else. What I will say, in all my years of being FlyKickz, 2020 was the most I've ever painted in my life. Where I was like, "The art store's open? Okay, let me go there, stock up, come back, and I'm gonna create, like, I'm just gonna tap into my art and create this work." Because it was also a time where the people that consider themselves the most busy people, now they're not really doing a lot of that busy stuff. So now was the time to slide into DMs, introduce myself, respond to every comment, people that like it, find out. I mean, I had to actually create a chart where it was like, I want to tap into more women. You know, I started looking at my insights a little bit more, studying that. And I was like, all right, I can see that predominantly there are 70% of men that kind of follow me. Let me tap into some of these other women creatives, see what they have going on, introduce myself, you know, and let them know that I appreciate their craftsmanship as well. So I just allowed me to kind of just figure out, just become a little bit more business savvy, because the realization is I can paint, I can create art. That's not a problem. That comes at ease for me. What sometimes is a little, now I wouldn't say hard, but something that I need to learn to do more of is getting to know other people. And I'm so much of a loner kind of in a way, where it was like I had to step out of my comfort zone and be like, okay, I know I can get to here and there on my own, but how can I utilize this individual to help me connect dots faster, you know, to work smarter and not harder?
Good.
So that's something that 2020 definitely taught me, and I carried it on now. And it's like, I'm painting and creating like crazy, but it's a wonderful thing because now I understand more of what my audience really likes, you know, and they're starting up conversations with me. I'm talking with them, and I'm like, wow, how can we do this? What can we do together to make this even more amazing?
You know, that it's so, I have to find the right words. Your face, that smile that you got, you know, it just all works so perfectly. And the work that you put out on, like, especially your IG, the imagery like built in with like giving people different perspectives of your work, you know, so people can say, oh, well, man, this is actually 3D. You know, those kinds of things have made this amazing package of Des FlyKickz. I mean, I want to see you just do whatever it is you want to do, because I'm inspired by, you know, seeing the work and things that you're doing. I know that you're constantly making work. Are you available for commissions? And for those who don't know what commissions are, that's if you have something specific that you would like Des to work on. Des, are you available for commission work?
Yes, you know, again, it really comes down to what the idea is, you know. So, you know, when people come to me, they may say, you know, I have my company logo. How can that be done in sneakers? You know, I take a look at it, and I have to be able to visually see it in sneakers, because people don't realize, you know, when you curve things and make it into certain shapes, it just kind of has to flow very well. And it's a lot different than paper is a lot different than cutting up sneakers. So, you know, it has to be able to work. So people reach out to me sometimes, and they're like, they have some ideas, and we build together to make it come to life. I've done that with the Brooklyn Nets piece. I did it sometimes the subjects, like for instance, I did the New Jersey Devils piece, and I was blessed to it belongs to the New Jersey Devils now. So, you know, it's exciting. Commissions are exciting to me, like especially if, you know, with the awesome people, you got the right idea, like
Yeah, it's just this whole combustion of like all this
yeah.
great energy and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Des, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. I really look forward to sharing and hearing more. I'm gonna have you come back as soon as you want to, and we'll go from there. Okay?
That'll be great. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, you just met Des FlyKickz, and be sure that you click on the link and that you follow the work that she is doing. Amazing artist, amazing human being, amazing person, and has this passion for wanting to share it with other people. If you got some young people in your life, some girls who have a passion for art or business or for sneakers, I think it would be really smart for you to connect them with Des FlyKickz. You've been listening and watching the Trenton 365 show. And remember, folks, it's always about justice, peace, and humility.